The pricing mechanisms, primarily in the oil markets, are a lot about the speculative nature of the markets. Therefore, the volatility is very high. In such conditions, it is precisely investments in the real sector of the economy which can restore the health of this sector. But we believe that the building and construction of modern technology using nuclear installations is quite feasible. The nuclear technology in the form of fast neutron reactors is quite viable and plausible in this world. Special attention should be paid to the role of natural gas in the energy balance of the future. Slide 4, please. First of all, the proven reserves of natural gas are quite sufficient to feed the supply for decades ahead, and natural gas is a very green fuel, and having a larger role of natural gas in the energy balance is beneficial. In the near future, the main demand for energy resources will be met by gas, oil, and coal. Therefore, the needs of ongoing prospecting and development of the resources and untapping the resources in the new regions, because the production at traditional provinces is dropping. A few words about petchems. We have already began the project, a major project in this area, and we cannot be held hostages to the unpredictability of the market situation globally. Therefore, consuming countries must not be aloof, and we should not be carrying all the risks. I mean, producers, consumers as well, have to take on their shares of the risks and contribute to the development of transportation infrastructure, etc. And it is based on the same principles: parity, taking into account mutual interest long-term, and this will be the basis for mutual trust. So let us carry on our work, let us not be biased about that. We are not to focus on talking, we are to focus on actions.
We are going into the golden age of gas, but the gas is not enough to make the sustainability. We have to use all low-carbon technologies: solar, wind, CCS, electric vehicle. But all using these things means the age of cheap energy is over.
As late as February of 2004, oil prices were going to be between $22 and $28 a barrel, more or less forever. And then we started to see that surge, driven really by the structural change in the world oil market resulting from China, India, their entrance into it in a very big way, and the kind of discovery really of the world of the BRICS, as we heard this morning. What are the risks ahead? Well, one thing that Mr. Tanaka has emphasized, he mentioned Russia and the IEA, but the importance also of bringing China and India in as these huge new consumers into the structure of international energy relations to avoid the kind of commercial competition turning into national rivalry during times of stress and times of crisis. So let me just offer a few thoughts about how to think about energy security. One, need to think about it in terms of physical security, the ability to basically protect it, to protect the supply chains. Secondly, I think that part of energy security is the access to develop energy resources in a timely way. Third is, in a sense, what Mr. Tanaka represents here and Mr. Sechin represents, the importance both of national governments but also international institutions creating a framework to anticipate, coordinate, and deal with the consequences of energy problems, to avoid panics, to avoid those bruising battles where, as I said, commercial issues in a moment of tension and panic turn into national collisions, and to help modulate them. And fourth, and I think something that's really inherent in this symposium that we've talked about over the last several years, to ensure that there really is timely and adequate investment made to meet these longer-term needs so that the energy will be there through the ups and through the downs. From an energy security perspective, the nature and investment and development of the next generation of resources in Russia is important to Russia, but not only to Russia. It's important to the world energy supply, but not only to world energy supply. It's also of critical importance to global energy security, and as such, it is very important to security of all nations in the global community.
We're quite confident and sure that we could ensure nuclear security. Another important thing for the nuclear sector is to have some projects, completed projects in place. We have such projects in Russia.
We have to change the whole market system from a liberalized market to more a capacity market, because otherwise nobody will invest into gas capacities.
The other thing Europe needs in order to secure to have a higher security of supply is to be more interconnected within Europe, making possible to transport gas, and why not Russian gas, from everywhere to everywhere within the European Union.
But even more important, I think, and I agree with my colleague from ENI, is that we continue to invest in interconnectors and in more pipelines to distribute the gas within Europe. That is vital, and that requires a solid investment climate. That requires a vision of the leaders in Europe, that gas is not a bridging fuel, but that gas is a destination fuel, is here to stay. And it requires a European regulatory framework that allows for solid investments in more pipelines to get the gas through Europe and distribute it to the end consumers.
And I think for that we need certain incentives and certain collaborations. But it is not just in the oil and gas business. It is also clearly that in the industries around the oil and gas business we can actually develop the economy, or help to develop the economy of Russia, by actually making sure that the components, the local content, will be developed here in Russia, like, for example, shipping, like other materials which we need. So I think there is a win-win situation here to actually develop the resources for the world by bringing in the latest technologies and further develop them, but at the same time also have a contribution to the Russian economy by developing the other businesses.
Today we heard an invitation to Russia to join the International Energy Agency, and I think that in a matter of next year Russia will not join this agency. This is my forecast, and I think that the International Energy Agency and a future organization which represents the interests of consumer countries will develop its own strategy and its own policy from the viewpoint of demand, which has its own value. In Russia, we must promote an open and constructive dialogue between the producers and consumers.